Okay, she said we're good now in recording. So did everybody have a chance to approve or look at the agenda? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
This is Dick Hyde, so motioned.
Joe Vaccaro, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and then did everybody have a chance to review the minutes? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
This is Dick Hyde, so motioned.
Second,
John Carroll, second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Any public comments for items not on the agenda? I do want to say it's nice to see you, Sharon. I haven't seen you in 18 months in person. We don't have any new membership appointments this month. We don't have any provider presentations. So we are just going to pass it to Laura.
Hello. I just want to go around the room because I don't know if everybody on the Zoom call knows who is here. So Jacob, you want to get started?
Yep, Jacob Matson, Mountain Metro Transit.
John Carroll, Special Kids, Special Families.
Jolene Houseman, Found Valley Senior Center.
Joe Vaccaro at large.
Sharon Brown, City of Fountain.
And those of you who are on the call, do you want to introduce yourself?
Jason DeBuena, Silver Key.
Good morning, Dick Hyde with Community Intersections.
Phil Van Horn with Invita.
And I think Diana is on the phone. She might have stepped away. Okay. So can y'all hear me? Okay. Kind of seems like it's going a little in and out. All right, great. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit today. Now that we're all kind of reassembling each other, talk through a few things about goals for this next year. And I'm getting kind of introduced to the bylaws of this group. You know, the purpose of this group. I will say, as I was talking to Jess this morning, our online files for the MCC group is really hard to navigate. And so I think I have the most up-to-date bylaws for the group, but want to talk through just the purpose and how we want to move forward with a new year. This is a new year for the AAA coming up starting in July. It's also a new year for the 5310 program. So I thought it was just a good time to just kind of start kicking off the conversation of what do we envision for this group moving forward. So a couple of things. I am going to pass out the current bylaws to the group and also bring them up on the screen. I sent them to you, but I can also, if you just want to share, allow me to share my screen, I can pull them up as well. Okay, cool. All right. I'm gonna pass these around. Hold on. All right. If I sound a little monotone today, I got zero sleep last night, so I apologize. I'm trying to pep up my life with a little bit of chai tea, but it was a great headache kind of night. So, but moving forward, I just as I was looking through these bylaws, there was a couple of things that stood out to me, and just kind of the observations over the past year, which I know is a very unique year for us as a group. And really, we had to be focused on our own organizations, and now we can kind of start shifting more efforts towards this group. So a couple of things I want to cover is just going over, especially for some new people that have joined the group over the year. But can you scroll up to section 2? Purpose. Oh, yep. Article 3, sorry. Yes, okay. Yeah. So I just want to read through this pretty quickly, but the importance of mobility, the ability to move or be moved easily without limitations. And I'm not going to go through these points, but that's the importance of this committee, is being able to work together to create avenues for all populations across the Colorado Springs area and within our COG, which includes Park County and Teller County, to be able to get people to and from the places that they need to go. And I think that as we're thinking through this and then moving on to, Jess, if you will pull up responsibilities, which is a little bit further down. Moving on to the responsibilities of this group is to advise and recommend the PPACG Board of Directors and staff on current emerging issues, goals, plans for public human service transportation in the Pikes Peak region. And for those of you who do not know, we actually are going to be working on our transit plans. Mountain Metro will be working on the general transit plans, and we will be re-looking at the specialized transit plans coming next year. And so through that process, we are going to be engaging this group, as well as working with you guys to engage the community that has to benefit or benefits from these services that we provide, and helping us kind of direct what we need to be doing moving forward. And so I just want to remind this group that y'all are going to be engaged in that process. And that's going to be an important part of what this group does. Those plans can't happen in a silo. Those plans have to involve you guys. Jacob, I'm putting you on the spot from Mountain Metro. I'm just saying, you guys, this group, PPACG and Mountain Metro are going to be leading that, and it's going to be important for us to engage this group in that process. So, B, information sharing related to transportation issues. I think this is something that we've been really good at continuing throughout the COVID response, and very much so been helping each other through the process of understanding the limitations that we have, that we've had to overcome over the past year. And so this is where I feel like over the past year, we've been really strong. Some of the things that I want to kind of take on and help you guys out with is through the grant process and understanding opportunities to grow your transit programs. So, and sharing those opportunities with the group. One of the things that when it comes to grants is super important, and we can utilize this group to help leverage more funds, is the coordination piece, which is the core of what this group is about. And so the coordination piece is something that to funders is really resounding. They want to know how we're coordinating with each other in order to improve services and also be efficient with what we are providing. And so utilizing this group as opportunities come along to potentially do joint applications for grants, or support each other through letters of support and those types of things to help leverage more funds for our programs. So I think that that's a great responsibility to highlight with this group, that we can lean on each other as we're looking for funds to provide services. be experts in transportation issues. I look to you guys for guidance on that. I am not the transit provider. I am somebody that helps manage grants and helps communicate, foster communication amongst you guys. And so our board is really looking to you guys for that input of what do we need to be doing in our community. And as you guys know, who sits on our board is oftentimes those that make decisions about funding opportunities for our programs. So I think that's going to be important, that we actually have some things. I'm going to be working with you guys to provide some things to report out on in board meetings. There's actually a time set aside in each board meeting for reporting out to the board about activities that each committee is working on. And so I think that it would be really helpful if we started being able to put together some things to report out on the activities that each one of our individual organizations are doing, as well as collectively as a group. Provide information and educational opportunities, training tools so that transportation may be integrated into all aspects of the community. This is going to take a team effort. We've kind of talked about, and this is D and E kind of go together, but we've talked about, making for sure that people understand what services are available. And that kind of all started out with the Google Sheet. But figuring out how we can adapt that directory of services into a more user-friendly directory for all populations that we're trying to serve. And I think that it's important for us to continue to think about who needs to be involved in this group. Right now, we have a lot of specialized transportation folks that are involved in this group. But really, the purpose of this group is for all populations to be moved and have the ability to move within our area. And I want us to think through today a couple of things of who needs to be here. Who have we seen here participating in the groups in these meetings for several months? Who have we not seen who used to participate in these meetings? And who do we need to involve moving forward? I really want us to kind of think through today, and I brought a little whiteboard. I don't know if you guys on the screen can see that as well, but think through today who we need to be recruiting into this group. And I think about certain things like we don't have anybody on this committee from the bike pedestrian folks within the community. We don't have anybody represented necessarily from the for-profit businesses that provide transportation throughout our community. Those types of things that I think that we can roll into our MCC to just to make us better and make us more whole. Also, involving more people into our committee meetings who have to benefit, who rely on the services that we provide, I think is going to be very helpful and guide us on understanding some of the unmet needs that we have. We have a guest in the room. Can I call you? Who are you with? Okay. Okay, we will Jessica, who's right here, she'll direct you to one of our direct service teams. Barbara's here. Okay, yeah. We had a customer come in, so Jess B's going to help her out. So kind of opening up the floor for some discussion, just kind of refreshing ourselves on these responsibilities. Where do you think we can, kind of move forward with what are some ideas we can move forward with these responsibilities and making for sure that we are fulfilling those responsibilities? What are some cool things that we can do? And those are things that we can talk through in upcoming meetings as well, as we kind of think through this. But what do you think some of our strengths are right now? And what do you think some of our weaknesses are right now in fulfilling these responsibilities?
I would like to see more representation from other cities in our domain, I guess is what I would say. Because most of them have some kind of transportation. Mhm. Even Colorado Springs, I don't think they have a direct representative here. You're the direct representative.
I think under the,
I thought,
I think I've been put under Colorado Springs, but I'm really with Mountain Metro Transit, which is kind of one and the same.
okay, okay,
yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. But I think we need, if we can get some of the other, yeah.
I think
other-
with the hybrid meetings now, we can reach out to a lot more of the
I think we can
outlying
too.
communities, because then they won't have to drive down the mountain. So I
Right.
think we capitalize on the hybrid meetings.
That's a good point. It's okay.
Right. What are some other, positives? This is a positive. This is something that is an opportunity. I don't really look at it as a negative.
It's not negative, it's just
What are
opportunity.
some other opportunities for us?
As Silver Can, Vita, and Fountain Valley are growing, the collaboration is to reach out to smaller nonprofits to bring them into the collaboration to share resources.
Kind of going off that idea and looking at those folks that benefit from the various opportunities that we give them with transportation options. So groups like Independence Center, Division of Vocational Rehab, some of those have been involved in the past. Don't think I've seen them here in a while, but I think those are good stops. Those that benefit from the services we offer maybe don't directly provide them. So kind of similar to what Jillian is saying.
And reaching out more to the mental health facilities, because mental health is finally being recognized as a medical appointment and a medical issue. And so bringing more of those nonprofits and providers, both for-profit, nonprofit, into the fold. The other people I'd really like to see at the table that I think all of us in here, Mountain Metro and the specialized providers do, is if we could reach out to some of the dialysis centers to have more of a working collaboration, because it's not always the most cohesive collaboration.
Dialysis will be a challenge to get them in here. I used to work as a planner and I couldn't get one of them to respond to me in a 13 county region.
I think another thing is hospitals too, because my husband has dealt with so many times that somebody has been discharged and nobody is there to pick them up. So I think that's a problem. Even if we're formulating materials and maybe written guidance for these groups, I think what worked really well is we put together that standard language for the vaccination rides. And I think if we can kind of standardize some of our language as to this is how you this is how you work with this group, I think would be helpful.
I think the other two groups that would be really helpful at a county level is a public health representative and then someone from emergency management planning. Because we all have vehicles and when emergencies happen, our riders tend to stay home. And that means we have empty vehicles that could be being utilized to serve the community as a whole. And I think we all saw it during COVID of them not understanding that we still have to follow state and federal guidelines too. So it may open up more dialogue about how to put us into service.
And on that one, Laura, I do have a contact because we do have somebody that we've worked with a couple times a year. We usually get a call, so I can get that contact off to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
And a lot of these, like we learned at CASTA, you know, it may not be productive in the meetings, but just knowing faces and names, it breaks down those barriers prior to emergencies.
Yeah.
So
For sure. And then just having an introduction to this group, I think is helpful.
and then definitely the Medicaid providers in the area.
Yep.
And like Coach Transportation is a for-profit and Bayo, because a lot of people call all of us and we are not medical. And so then it just gives you resources to be able to refer to and work together networking wise. Bayo, BEO. They're the like medical transporter in the area.
I'm running out of room there. So
Yeah.
Here we go.
And if they qualify for any of ours first, like para or specialized, it's better for the consumer because Bayo is super pricey without health insurance.
What about, we've talked a lot about medical folks and getting people around that are the most vulnerable populations. What about just people in general?
Your workforce centers, I think, are important, and your large employers. Amazon is the big one here ramping up. I know we're in lots of discussions with them.
Are you going to be running a special bus to
We do-
Amazon?
We have a route that does Amazon and the airport now.
Oh, okay.
Currently,
good.
it's morning and evening, and then in the fall, we're gonna go all day with it.
Okay, okay.
The other people I'd like to see at the table is someone from transportation from all the school districts. Because
like it.
they use both Mountain Metro and specialized transit for a lot of their special populations.
Great. I actually met these people, Pike Ride, met these people this weekend. They seem pretty cool. But I think we're also about to have some more multimodal funds coming through. So how do we utilize those funds, not just for specialized transportation, which some of that will be hoped to go to, but also how do we create more accessible ways for people just to get around by foot? I come from a town that really did a good job of making things accessible for wheelchairs. You know, we have a 36-mile in Chattanooga, 36-mile paved path. Our path here is paved, not paved, paved, not paved. So different ways people can sort of get out and get around in a recreational sense.
So maybe an ADA specialist with like a law firm that helps. Also, then when we're discussing new projects, it's always
Yeah.
good to find out what we're doing wrong before we implement it.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper to do it from the
Yeah.
get-go.
I know the
Get it
city,
right the first
City
time.
of Colorado Springs has kind of come a long way just in the last 5 years with that. They've hired an oversight person on, I think, 4 ADA specialists that have kind of gone through and are working a lot of those issues where previous, I think there's only one.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I included here is City of Colorado Springs, and I would say Manitou and Fountain.
And Fountain has a ADA specialist now.
These kind of can go a little bit together,
Mhm.
because I feel like this group here may not always be informed about the needs of our clients that you
Yes.
guys serve. So I was talking to Bike Ride people, and we had an opportunity for a Main Streets grant. I don't know if you knew about that, but a Main Streets grant to apply for either $2 million or $150,000 for different levels of projects. And we only applied for the $150,000. Colorado Springs did. Only applied for the $150,000. And I was thinking about, if we were coordinating within this group, as well as, trying to coordinate across jurisdictions, we could have capitalized on that to be able to improve some of the paths that we have, as well as, I think there was also some money in there for bus stops, those types of things, and being able to get to bus stops safely, and also, being able to pave some more paths and make them more ADA accessible. But we didn't go after that large of a grant, and we had the opportunity to do that. So I think having people like this in the room to inform them of, hey, I've observed this, our clients can't utilize that service, what can we tweak in order to do that?
And I think in just the 3 years I've been here, I've seen collaboration grow exponentially, not only between the specialized providers, but like FMT and MMT, so Fountain Municipal Transit, Metro Mountain Transit. When the new health department opened in Fountain, had a great collaboration for the ADA accessibility, because we don't want to see people in wheelchairs wheeling over, the railroad tracks and getting stuck. So now they can transfer buses and make sure they get there safely. So there's been a lot of collaboration locally that I don't think is always vocalized to the group as a whole.
Cool. So knowing
And-
what's going on already,
Yeah.
I think is helpful.
And Diana said, who can they work with in Park County? So I really think I would love to see Park County more at the table for transportation, because all of their citizens are more isolated than anywhere else. And I think that's where the hybrid meetings will come in. And Diana also said she'd like to see more city and county government representation.
I agree, Diana, with Park County. And this is actually something that kind of brings up another point, is how to connect the MCC with the RCC. So Ted and a bunch of people from Park County, as well as Teller County, they meet up in Cripple Creek primarily to talk about the same types of things that we talk about, and how do we connect what we're doing at sort of a metropolitan level with the RCC, and how do we, kind of bridge some of those conversations so that we're thinking about not just Colorado Springs and Fountain transportation, but we're thinking about regional transportation, and how do we get people from the rural communities down to Colorado Springs for services, as well as getting people here in Colorado Springs up to those areas that a lot of people really enjoy, the outdoors and those types of things. So crossing lines there to have more of a regional approach. Park County. They also got Park County Senior Coalition received some funding this year for transportation vouchers, to be able to pay volunteers to reimburse volunteers for, their expenses of taking people into the city for appointments and those types of things. But how can we create a network to make that a little more seamless of a process, since we were already, have some regional networks starting. So one other thing Diana said, what was the other thing?
More city and county.
Yep. And these are some things that I don't want us to be, this all to be on us to be able to recruit these people. What's important is for us to kind of tackle some of these things as we already have our network of people that we work with. So building off of this meeting and looking at it from next meeting, kind of thinking about who can engage these people based upon their current context. Also giving this information to Andy and our folks here who may have contacts with these individuals and would be able to help us recruit people to the MCC. So I think that we can kind of, as I'm standing here, maybe this is something that we include this in our Google Sheet under a different tab and include these folks. And if you have a connection to those folks, you can write a note there and say, I'm going to engage this person and see if they can start coming to the MCC so we can start divvying up some of these opportunities. All right. This is a good start. I just wanted us to kind of relook at what our purpose was as a group, build upon that. Next meeting, I want us to kind of talk about goals. Where do we want to go with the group moving forward? I think the more we can put together goals, the easier it's going to be for us to recruit these people, for sure, to be a part of our group, because they need to see something that is sort of concrete of saying, okay, this is the direction of this group and this is what they're trying to accomplish and this is how I fit into that. So I think that's important. I don't want to take up any more time today on that, but thank you. Is that cool? We did good. Thank you guys for your input. So there was a couple of other things that I just wanted to cover today. Who was on the Supercall for CDOT? Last week before? Who was on it?
Phil.
Phil? Okay, Phil was on the Supercall. Anybody else? Okay, Diana was on. I think I saw Diana on there. Yeah, so the Supercall for CDOT went out last week. This is a funding opportunity for you guys. This is the first time CDOT ever has done a Supercall. It is all encompassing. So typically they do their operational grants at a different time than their capital grants and their planning grants. And so they have combined all of that into the Supercall. And I want to put it on your radar because applications are due this coming month and they're staggered. So I'll be sending out, I think I already sent out the information about the Supercall to this group. I'll resend it to you guys, but there's some opportunities within the Supercall that I just want to kind of talk through. There's some planning opportunities for regional planning, so more of for the rural areas. So those that are on the call, Diana, I know, Invita as well is in the rural communities doing services, even some places outside of Fountain, in some of those places that are not covered under the UZA. Could be working through and us working together to sort of think about a regional approach and utilizing these funds to help us with that planning process. It's okay. So that's 5304 funding. And I know that we access some of that funding for some transit plans here in Colorado Springs, but there is some smaller grants through 5304 that can be utilized for transit planning outside of the urbanized area. So I want that to be on everybody's radar. Those of you who need new buses, those types of things, that was a part of the Supercall. So anything kind of capital needs in that sense, As you guys know, they do a sort of a pre-procurement process and work with different vendors for specific vehicles for you to kind of purchase. That's the easiest way. You also have the opportunity to look for your own vehicle, but that's a much more challenging process to do that. So that's an opportunity. Again, I'm trying to put this on your radar because it's due next month if you haven't looked at it. Other things is your operations. So y'all have operational, there is operational funds for the 5311 for outside the urbanized area as well as the rural 5310. So I'm actually working with CDOT on kind of better understanding what the rural 5310 funds and where it kind of butts up to the urbanized area 5310 funds, because we do have clients that are outside the urbanized area that we have to serve that are still in El Paso County. And so how do we utilize those funds along with some PPRTA funds to better serve that community? So working through what does that look like for us as a group? 5311 funds is for basically transportation outside of the urbanized areas and outside of El Paso County. And so I know that we have Envita that receives 5311 funds. We also have Teller Senior Coalition that receives 5311 funds. So those are funds that are available to you guys for operational purposes. We also are about to have MMOF funds that are coming out. Those were not a part of the Supercall, but they will be coming out. And that's something that I think within this group, we can kind of talk through the best way to tackle some opportunities with that funding. All right. Is there any like technical questions that you guys that were on the Supercall that maybe I may be able to help with? And if so, feel free to reach out to me, and I can either find out from CDOT if you're not having a easy time getting a hold of CDOT, but I can help with that. All right. And then I think the last thing that was on the list over, what was it? What's on the agenda? The last
Google Sheet.
Google Sheet, yay. All right, couple of things about the Google Sheet. It still is in a work in progress. So I could still use some help with getting some contact information for some of these groups that were on the Google Sheet that didn't necessarily have a contact next to them or didn't have any information next to them. We are working on getting an intern through our GIS department, which is really cool, who is going to kind of look at that Google Sheet and try to map out our services. Yeah. And so also kind of reach out to these agencies that maybe we didn't list, do some research on that and figure out what their services are and figuring out how to map that. So that's really cool. And I'm hoping that that's something that we can just evolve over time, that he creates kind of a living, he or she creates a living document for us to kind of build off of. And it'd be cool if we can kind of show the community what some of our gaps are and what are some of those needs that we need as organizations to fulfill those gaps if we have the capacity or the wanting to do so. So I think that that's going to be a great opportunity. And we'll have that intern for about 6 months. So that's all I have.
Okay, I did have one thing that I probably should have done under public comment,
Okay.
but a month ago is when we Found Valley Senior Center first sent out those surveys. And that meeting, we had gotten like 150 back and we were ecstatic because, as we all know, if we send out 600 surveys, we're lucky to get 50 back. And so I just updated my board, but we got back 365 surveys. We've had seniors calling the senior center, thanking us for their input, because during COVID, ageism in America was alive and well, of us telling everybody over 70 what to do without asking them what they think they should do. And the results were actually really surprising because we thought everybody would just want to reopen and say to hell with COVID and not have restrictions. 76% of the seniors responding wanted restrictions in place to feel safe. So we went with the most neutral option of the non-vaccinated have to wear masks. 44% of the seniors wanted even stricter ones, and 28% wanted mandatory vaccines, which is legal, but it opens up a whole, yeah. So we will be reopening at Found Valley Senior Center on July 6th, and we're gonna have a morning session, afternoon session, and sanitize in between. And then we'll be fully open with food August 9th. We would have done it at the beginning of August, but when we're closed to the pandemic, the travel seniors are itching to go places. So we're going to Durango for a week. And so we probably don't want to start serving food when me, Mark, and Jennifer are going to be taking seniors on a trip in Durango. I do want to also just caution everybody, it's so exciting that everything has reopened up. But with the new strains of COVID, my brother is a police officer with Colorado Springs. They took their daughters to the Denver Aquarium 2 weeks ago. His 2-year-old is extremely sick from COVID. And then he tested positive last week and his wife tested positive yesterday. And they both have Moderna vaccinations for more than 60 days. So the new variants are hitting people. So of course, the news comes at a fantastic time, right when we vote to reopen the senior center. But the seniors also will have herd immunity within the center, like 88% are vaccinated. But just as a gentle reminder, the El Paso County as a whole is nowhere near herd immunity. So we recognize that the seniors are out in public and then coming to the senior center. So I think the wearing a mask if you're not vaccinated is a good compromise. However, we did smuggle some seniors in to play bingo the last 2 times because it's been super hot outside. So we had to weigh out dying of heat stroke or being exposed to COVID. And a lot of the seniors still wore masks indoors too, even those vaccinated. So I think we'll see that more with that population just because it is playing Russian roulette, and a game of bingo for $10 is not worth your life. So we're looking forward to seeing the seniors back in and back on transportation, at high capacity.
I have one more thing that I forgot to say. So did you guys get my debrief on that in Teleride going away? I think I sent that out to the whole group. Okay. Yeah. So just to kind of put it on everybody's radar, which I think everybody on the call, it is on their radar. Teleride is no longer going to be the statewide broker for NEMT rides. And so while there was a lot of people on the call that were saying, we want this changed July 1st because it's been so terrible, what was going in my mind was, okay, these are a bunch of for-profit companies that are saying that right now because it's been bad for everybody. But in my mind is, how are we going to communicate that in such a short amount of time? And so just to be aware, there's going to be a lot of confusion over the next, several months with clients not really knowing how they can access Medicaid rides. There's no master list, which is surprising to me. No master list of who provides NEMT rides in our area. So that's something that I'm pushing for from the state because that just makes no sense to me since we had no communication plan put in place for this change. So if you guys can help kind of navigate people to NEMT providers, if you aren't one yourself, if you can help navigate them to one that I know Invita's one here on the call, and Teller Senior Coalition, I think, is also an NEMT provider. Do we have any others? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So very few that are nonprofits in our
Laura,
area.
Laura, this is Jason. Silver Key's approved as an NEMT provider, but we held until the brokerage. We got approved just before until I forgot what the name of it is, came to be. And we held out for a moment, and now that it's being dissolved, we're still approved. We have not been activating our services yet, but we're going to very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, just let us know when that is occurring, because I think that's going to help big time, because I know that I've been kind of spinning my wheels as to who our direct service team needs to be directing people to. So that's great.
Goodwill is also a provider. I don't think they're on the call, but they're they're a pretty big provider. And just so you know, some of what we've heard from the community about this is that Teleride themselves seems to be already acting as if they have stopped services outside of the Denver metro area. So I think functionally the brokerage is already out of service.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we kind of heard on the call, and the state was trying to get that changed with them. But basically anybody who's requesting a ride for in July needs to go through a direct provider. So the only caveat to this is those that are requesting reimbursement, like an individual requesting reimbursement for their ride, they still will be going through Teleride for that reimbursement. So that is still not going well from what I hear from the individual perspective. But that's how the state is going to continue it, at least for this year.
And then I'm sorry, I just thought of one other thing, since I live in, beautiful Pueblo compared to Colorado Springs of desert and sagebrush. If you guys have been watching the news, you can't get gas in Pueblo right now. Every loaf and jug is out, and then it's hit or miss. I have a lovely 21-year-old son who I like to refer to as the dumbest smart person I know. And he drove to my house yesterday, and when he got there, he's like, my gas light is on, but no gas stations had gas. I'm just going to drive around till I find some. I'm like, you're going to run out of gas. And so he had to call 30 stations before somebody had gas. And my mom works in Canyon and lives with me, yay. And she had to drive up to Fountain to get gas on Sunday. So I think we're going to start seeing it affect the southern area of Springs. So as a collaborative group, if we start seeing it affect more and more into Colorado Springs, I think I'd like to work with Laura on an additional Google sheet where if it does start coming here, individual agencies can put in where they found gas that day, because we don't want to have to decline rides just due to a trucking shortage. So being that all our vans are located in Fountain, we encourage filling up the tanks every night, but it will be mandatory right now, just because then if we start seeing it fluctuate more in Fountain. So what you see on the news is true. I've never wanted a diesel vehicle until this week, because everywhere has diesel, but you can't get unleaded anywhere. It's crazy. But I do have to say, I really appreciate that when the stations are getting gas, people aren't panic buying. Like, you're not seeing people filling up milk jugs and then blowing up their cars. So people are at least being smart about it.
Mind if I give a brief update? Mine's a little bit happier, I guess. So, and on a happier note, that's good to know though. I camp a lot and I can't get more than about out the trailer. Can't usually Pueblo is where I got to fuel up. So duly noted. Yikes. So it'll be a few weeks before I'm back out again, but you're pulling from my generators, be siphoning from my generator. But, yeah. So Couple updates with transit. So we released our fall service changes. Those went, I think, out. I saw the video, I think yesterday it went online. So have a couple things updating. So Route 22, which is kind of our south, one of our southeasterly routes, we'll be putting on Sunday service, which currently does not have Sunday. As are we doing the same with the Route 23, which is a little north of there, kind of the east central part of the city. If you know the First and Main areas, there's a lot of jobs out there. That one's going to also have Sunday level service. I referenced the route, what's the Route 37, which does the airport and Amazon. So we've been in talks with them. They're actually about a month or so behind from their big hire on based on the news events with their different events. So we're not seeing the ridership yet, but we expect that to grow once they're fully functional. Presently, we're only doing like 2 to 3 hours in the morning and 2 to 3 hours in the evening for Amazon and the airport. In the fall, and when I say fall, we're looking at September 26th would be the change. We're looking to go to full day service, which would have service to the airport as well. So that's kind of a big step for us. And then the final thing that's kind of in that fall service change, but really is next spring, is we are looking to do a downtown shuttle, which would pretty much link as far south as about Rio Grande and Tejon up to Dale Street in Tejon. So kind of the urban core there. And the proposal right now is that this would be a free service. We're working on what that looks like for frequency, time of day, that kind of stuff. But that we're looking as early as I think April 26th or so of next year, but potentially as late as around Memorial Day. So those are what we're proposing right now. So we're excited about that, and hopefully we get the drivers we need for all this, because I know we're all struggling for that.
Awesome.
Just remember, the service providers don't need CDLs. So if you get people that like want to drive small ones, funnel them our way.
We send them to paratransit. But if you get people that want to drive big buses, send them our way.
So is that shuttle gonna look like maybe a trolley or something?
So there's been discussions about that. We're starting by ordering diesels with the the intent of going to electric as funds become available. And I've seen various designs that make it's still a bus, but it looks like a trolley.
You can look at
We've seen some of
Chattanooga's.
those. Yeah.
In Chattanooga, we had a free shuttle downtown that was actually bought by our electric power board company. So like it's all electric.
Yep.
And yeah, the electric power board company sponsored the whole thing and still continues to. So I do have a question in terms of as you were talking about the working with businesses and getting routes and that kind of thing to businesses. And I know that we actually have a potential traffic reduction plan that may be rolled out to Colorado Springs, well, El Paso County in general. But do you guys get any subsidies from those companies that you are, providing that service to? And if not, I think that would be an opportunity for sure.
We do look to partner with them. So we do oftentimes get buy-in from companies. So some of our routes do have various organizations that will, throw 500 or 100,000 or so at it. With the Amazon specific, they built their bus stops out there. So they built the bus shelters, they paid for them. I guess we built them, or whoever did that, I'm not probably sure, but yeah, they funded those. So yeah, we do work with that. And then our hospital agreement, we work with them, as well as the colleges pay into it too. So we do seek those opportunities where they exist.
Cool. Awesome.
The one other person I would add to your list is maybe reach out to Jill Gabler about coming for the high-speed train.
Yep.
Because when we're looking at all modes of transportation.
And busting. Kyle. He's such a very interesting man. I like him a lot. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think she's supposed to do a report. If y'all want to watch the next board meeting, she's supposed to do a report on the Front Range passenger rail, I think. So yeah, I would recommend looking at that. So, well, awesome. This was great.
We're adjourned at, gotta hurry up and say it before one of us comes up with something else. 10:26.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Everybody have a good weekend. And
You
we.
too, Dick.
Yeah.